There is no secret. It's all in the work. You got to roll up your sleeves and you got to do the work.
You can't do good business sitting on your backside.
What you think and what you do in the moments, hours, days, or decades will determine whether your life is enriched or impoverished. You're listening to The Bill Wooditch Show. This is the hour where you learn more and do more on your quest to become more. And now, here's your host, Bill Wooditch.
Welcome to The Bill Wooditch Show, what promises to be an epic show with a very, very, very special guest. And I mean very, very, very. Did I give 3 of those? Add a 4th. A very, very special guest. But I'm going to keep you in suspense just for a little bit. I want to tell you a story that will reveal who this guest is. I was on a back road in Pennsylvania. It's kind of way back home. You know, Thomas Wolfe, the writer, said you can never go back home. That's not true. You physically can go back home. All a long way from the beaches of California. And I had done some film work in Chicago. I was in Pittsburgh, and I was in the back seat with a very close personal friend, a person I cherish as a mentor. He's a Hall of Fame speaker. His name is Steve Gilliland. And we were in the back seat going to our All Things Speaking retreat. He is the founder of All Things Speaking. In the back seat, he said, Bill, I've got an interesting topic of conversation to bring up, and I want to compare 2 leadership styles, 2 thought styles. And so he went into a more conventional style, and he named some of the key points from, or referenced some of the key points from a certain leader, a very venerable leader, very respected. He's been in the space for a long time. And he said, and I was in the airport, and I found this guy. And he started quoting this guy. And he said his name is Grant Cardone. I said, well, Steve, you're not going to believe this, but he's going to be on my show next week. Now, I found Grant Cardone through my sales reps, who years ago said to me, I think it might have been 3 years ago, you got to watch this guy's videos. And I did, and I think that like seeks like, and there are certain points of divergence in thought. And I'm not saying Grant and I think the same things the same way, act the same way, we don't. But there are certain points of reference and convergence that we do agree upon. And when I watched the video about his book, Sell or Be Sold. Now, he has a number of books that they're bestsellers. They're New York Times bestsellers. But I bought that book, Sell or Be Sold, and I liked it. I really liked it. So I've been following Grant Cardone, as millions have, on a daily basis since then. He's on my show. So this is going to be, in every sense of the word, pretty interesting. Grant Cardone, among, I can't even tell you the number, I'd run out of zeros, thousands and thousands and thousands of other tweets and quotes, believes that success is your duty, obligation, and responsibility. Think about that. It's your duty, it's your responsibility, it's your obligation. I believe that you are the CEO of your life. That's right. If it's to be, it's going to be up to you. It's going to be up to you to move your value forward by learning, becoming more every day. You learn more, take action, do more, and then take the steps to evolve and become more every day. That's the CEO of your life. The primary responsibility of a CEO is to drive revenue, create profit for shareholders. Guess who the number one shareholder in your life is? It's you. Has to be. You're going to influence your fate. You're not going to control it. And you're going to generate your luck by thinking next and taking action now. Taking decisive action now. Applying that knowledge, using people skills, and perhaps flashing the Colgate smile once in a while, are going to make opportunity available. But opportunity is a window. It's a window in time. It's a window. It's a short glimpse into an event or an occurrence that you can influence by taking decisive action in the present. You know, life is strewn with people who wait and then wait for something perfect, the perfect time, the perfect mate, the perfect opportunity. It doesn't occur. You've got to put yourself in play. Get out there. You're going to make it the right time, the right place, the right person by engaging in this thing we call life. You got to see, you have to seize, and you have to create opportunity for yourself. See, seize, and create opportunity for yourself. You know, there's a quote from Steve Gilliland that I really am very fond of. And he talks about this, and I think it's a great framework for becoming the CEO of your life. And he says, never spend time with a thought that you don't want to experience. Now think about that. Never spend time with a thought that you don't want to experience. Steve goes on to say it's important to take responsibility for what you're feeding your mind. You can either feed it mental protein or mental candy. Well, today we're going deep into the protein. We're going into the Grant Cardone zone, man. We're going to go deep, deep, deep. We're going to fuel this thing with some real solid mental food. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. But what Grant's going to challenge you to do, as I will challenge you to do, is to take personal responsibility for your thoughts, for your action. And those of you who earn a paycheck, well, I got to tell you this, you are an entrepreneur. Yes, you are. You cash that check, you sign that check, or you have it directly deposited, you are an entrepreneur. You are working for yourself. You see, today, to become recession-proof, you've got to build your skill set. You've got to learn more. You've got to do those things that have you on the path to becoming more. Becoming more what? Becoming more valuable. Every day presents an opportunity. It's a window. It's closing. You're going to see it. Are you going to seize it? Are you going to make that happen? It's up to you, my friends. It's up to you, because success, as Mr. Cardone will say, is duty, obligation, and responsibility. Grant is a New York Times best-selling author. He's internationally renowned as a speaker on leadership, real estate, investing, entrepreneurship, and finance. He has 5 privately held companies with annual revenues that exceed $100 million. He holds a portfolio of 3,800 apartments throughout the United States, with transactions valued at over $500 million. Today, you'll find that Grant is the CEO of the #1 sales training platform in the world. And he consults regularly with Fortune 500 companies and customers such as Google, Northwestern Mutual, Morgan Stanley, and more. He's a top 5 social media expert and one of the top 10 most influential CEOs today. I think I made number 11. I don't think I made that top 10 list, but, as always next year. Always next year. He is the executive producer and star of 2 reality TV shows, creator of the first online entrepreneur and business TV network, Grant Cardone TV. And most impressively, on November 29th, 2016, that wasn't very long ago, Forbes named Cardone the #1 of all of the 25 marketing influencers to watch in 2017. Cardone was #1 of the 25 marketing influencers to watch in 2017. I'm probably leaving out a lot because of time. I'm probably missing a lot, but he is must-see TV. He's Grant Cardone. He's on GrantCardoneTV.com. Today, Finance with Bill Wooditch on the Bill Wooditch Show. Do not go away for this one.
The Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund, a leader in supporting the men and women of the armed forces, has provided nearly $200 million in support for wounded military personnel and families of those lost in service. The fund today is on a campaign to build Intrepid Spirit Centers treating service members suffering from traumatic brain injury. They put their lives on the line for us in battle. We care for them at home. Visit fallenheroesfund.org to join this crucial mission.
He is the inimitable, the unique, the one, the only Grant Cardone, and it is my pleasure. I am humbled and honored to have Grant Cardone on my show. I want to have my mom listen to this. She's not going to believe me. Grant, welcome to the Bill Wooditch Show.
Bill, you give your mom a big hug and a kiss for me, all right?
I will. Grant, I think that commonality is found in a background that possibly there were some similar experiences. You grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and I grew up in a borough, Kane, Pennsylvania. And we had one thing in common. We had a lower middle-class upbringing. I've done my research on you. And we also had a burning, I think, an insatiable desire to get the hell out of there. We both share that. Without dipping too far in your background, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, my dad died when I was 10. He did really well. He was a stockbroker doing the boom between 58 and 68. And he did really well. And then, for where he was in his life, he did really well. But he died at 52 years old, left a little bit of insurance paper for my mother. So while it would appear that we were, safely in the middle class, I watched my mom every day terrified about money, whether we could spend money at the store, not spend money at the store, what a can of beans cost. And I was 10 years old, Bill, and I'm watching my mom. We supposedly are better off than most people, and I heard that every day. Yet my mom was terrified every second. I couldn't do anything about it. So by the time I was 15 years old, I'm like, this middle class thing sucks. And she's like, no, we're doing good. We're doing good. I'm like, yeah, but you're scared all the time, and I can't help you. Right. And so by the time I was 16 years old, I said, one day I'm going to get out of this middle class. One day I'm going to get rich, and I actually used that word, and I got slapped for it. And my goal was not to get rich to have things, but to be able to help my mom, really.
Yeah. And that feeling of helplessness is something, unless you really have that deep feeling inside, you don't know what it is. I had the same thing. My mom used to look at the price on groceries and look and buy something for 11 cents instead of something that was, 12 cents and shop everything. And then I had to make do with flour and, we ate pasta 6 days a week. So I understand that. Grant, let me ask you this. And you are you are an ascending star. And I think you've, in your book, Be Obsessed, you have a section where you talk about, you keep moving, you have to keep working toward your potential, never be satisfied, keep moving. But what's Grant Cardone's definition of success?
Well, for me, it's, it does move and it evolves. So for me, success is just I'm constantly trying to reach for my full potential. It's not a car or a house or a plane or a certain amount of money. For me, it's what is my potential? And my potential as a 15-year-old is different than my potential today with the information I have and the connections I have. So the reason you see so many successful people continue to push for another level, at which point people are like, why does Tom Brady need a fifth ring? Why doesn't he just hang it up? Because Tom Brady is reaching for his full potential, and only he knows what that is. Why is Warren Buffett still in the game or Bill Gates still in the game when they're already two of the 5 richest people on the planet? Because they're reaching for something that you can't cash in at a bank, which is potential, the discovery of what a person can do as opposed to what a person has done.
The human, that innate need for striving that lies dormant in so many people that comes out because we just have to.
Yeah, it's why 200 million people watch the Super Bowl, because those people aren't watching the Super Bowl because they like football. They're watching it because they know they have an opportunity to see greatness on a screen.
Mm-hmm. If you could attribute your success to one trait, and this is going to be a difficult one for you, one trait, what do you think that trait would be?
It wouldn't be my good looks.
I don't know, man. You look pretty good. You got a handsome man.
I know, but I think
you got a little George Clooney going on now.
I think my good looks actually hurt me along the way, you know? I think.
Oh, I can relate.
The trait that I would probably say has been most beneficial to me is the just not quitting. Like the willingness to hang in there. Like every business that I've started, everybody told me not to do it, including people that were closest to me. Every one of them took way longer than they should have. I wanted to quit 1,000 times. Even the woman I'm married to, she didn't want to go out with me. So I'm not a very lucky guy. They're not easy for me. Everything seems difficult for me. So persistence, man, just not quitting, even in the face of every indicator suggesting now would be the time to quit.
Here's one of your quotes. You think I do too much, but I don't think about you at all.
Yeah.
You got an unapologetic approach. Your style is all you. And most of us fear exposing ourselves. You know, what was your tipping point? When did you say, screw it, man, I'm just going to be me?
Because, man, I tried the other thing, Bill, and people didn't like me when I was trying to be them. So, and then I didn't like me. So, you know, you try to please everybody, all you end up with is, you know, the half that wasn't going to like you probably still isn't going to like you. And now you're left with not liking you too. So, I don't know, somewhere in the last 13 or 14 years, I just got to where I'm going to go for this deal. This is my gig, my deal, my name, my brand. And if half the people don't like me, I mean, I said this in the first book that I wrote. If I could get half the people to hate me, I could probably become the president.
I saw
that. And that's what we have now.
Yes, you were Trump before Trump, and I had to just get that out. Let me ask you. Let me ask you this question. I can't remember the exact time. Anywhere between 3 hours to 36 hours, you wrote the book "Sell or Be Sold." Is that correct?
Yeah, I wrote that book in 3 hours.
You got to be kidding me.
I wrote
and
that
I say
book
this
in
as a
3 hours.
person that wrote a book.
Now check this out. I wrote the Millionaire booklet. I wrote the Millionaire booklet in 2 hours. The book, Be Obsessed or Be Average, took 19 months. So people tell me it's impossible to write a book in 2 or 3 hours. All right, well, it's impossible for you, but I did it. Now, that doesn't mean that book was completely edited. It came with hundreds and hundreds of grammar mistakes, vocabulary errors, commas in the wrong places. So it wasn't perfect, but it was a best-selling book. So people would tell me all the time, man, you got errors all over this book. And I'm like, it's a best-selling book, son, okay? And all the people that were telling me that I did it wrong had never written a book. So that goes to talk about the haters, you know. It's like they all got opinions, but they don't do much.
All right, how do you handle the haters? Your success? Is that? I mean, it's best served as a dish cold.
Yeah, number one, the hater is not the one that you need to be concerned with. It is the people that listen to the hater that you need to be concerned with because they're weak people. So they tend to pass on the information that the hater shared. The hater actually is an indication that you have made it. Bill, I'm sure you get your fair share of hate. Dude, you got a radio show, you got an opinion, people don't like something you said. Those are haters. But the haters are actually, they're like fuel because they promote the individual. And for some of us, they actually inspire us to do more of that. So I think I have it equated mentally that the hater is an indication that I'm doing something right, that I'm actually getting attention. Without attention, you're not going to get success. It's impossible. And I remind myself, man, that they pounded nails in Jesus' hands and feet and put a crown on his head called a crucifixion. So whatever you say about me is kind of small compared to being put on a cross.
And that is a great takeaway for the listener. Because you living someone else's life, living that shadow life is the root cause of unhappiness. I mean, you're living a life of proxy. It's not really you. You're just living vicarious through other people, and you fear to risk because you think you want to be safe and you want to be liked, and that's the way to unhappiness.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop this one on you though, because I could ask you about sleep. You know, Churchill was famous for this. It used to drive Hitler crazy. Besides the musings of his mind and the Eastern Front, Hitler went crazy with Churchill's energy. He couldn't figure out why he was doing things at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. How could this man do this? So how in the heck does Grant Cardone do what he does and not sleep? How much sleep do you get?
Well, dude, first of all, you assume I don't sleep because of the amount of activity that you see me producing every day.
Yeah.
So notice that people start thinking, dude, the guy must never sleep, right? People think that Trump doesn't ever sleep, but he does sleep, okay? See, because what they're focused on is the activity. So this is a little trick, a little magic trick that people should understand. If you can figure out omnipresence, the word means the idea of being everywhere all at the same time. It's not about being everywhere. It's about being everywhere at the same time. So how can I be on Bill's show, on YouTube, on Facebook, on a live stream someplace, on a Snapchat, and then have an article dropped about me like seconds after this interview? The way to do that is to commit to being omnipresent, everywhere at the same time. It creates the impression that I never sleep, that I'm never gone, and anything, by the way, Bill, that is designated this label of omnipresence is also given the label of power. God is everywhere in the Bible. You see it all over. God is everywhere. God is everywhere all the time. So you can do this today with social media. Last night, on the sleep question, I got 12 hours of sleep last night because when I went to bed at 8 o'clock, I didn't feel good, and I didn't wake up till 8. Now, nobody would think that I got 12 hours last night, but I did.
I'm speechless for the first time in the show and probably for the first time in my life.
Yeah, and I
get
7 to 8 hours every day, by the way, okay? It's what I do with the other 17 hours that matters.
Well, I'm going to throw this to you, okay? I saw one of your latest streams. I mean, you're all over the place, but that bulletproof coffee you might want to think twice about. And
no,
I'll
I
send
know,
you something
dude. My pilot has me doing the bulletproof thing. I think it's every time I drink one, I said, this is stupid.
Just, I say that sometimes our mind understands what our emotion rejects. And if you think it's stupid, it just might be because it's going to have that negative effect on your health at some point. Be careful with that, man.
No doubt about it. 2 scoops of butter, 2 things of oil with coffee, it's dumb.
You feel go ahead.
It's amazing to me that somebody would think of this and actually make money with it. So I'm like, I'm just drinking to him now.
But it's grass-fed, so you got to feel good about the butter. Speaking of dumb, one of my favorite videos is you in that dummy. When you're talking about it's dumb to borrow money to go to college. Can you give me a quick one on that, Grant? Why is it dumb to borrow money to go to college?
Well, if I came to you, Bill, and said, hey, I got a great idea, Billy, check it out. Billy, I'm going to get you a loan to go to a place called Harvard, okay? And you're going to be there for 5 years. You're going to borrow money for 5 years. You're not going to make any money on that money for 5 years. And, oh, by the way, Bill, when you get out, I can't guarantee you that you'll get a job more than maybe being a barista that pays, $10 an hour, and they're going to promise you 12 sometime in the next 4 or 5 years. And, by the way, you don't need to pay anybody back until, later in life. Sound like a good deal to you?
No, that might be a good deal. The barista sounds good to me right now.
Yeah. You don't get any income. I can't guarantee you a job. I can't guarantee you a product. You're going to be out of the marketplace for 5 years, and when you finally finish, oh, by the way, you're not guaranteed to learn much.
Terrible deal. We're going to have much more of Grant Cardone. This has been incredible, an eye-opener for me as well, and I didn't even have that bulletproof coffee. We'll be back with Grant. Don't go away. You're listening to The Bill Wooditch Show.
I'm Peter Dunn, Pete the Planner, and I turn people into millionaires. When I talk about making someone a millionaire, I talk about making you a millionaire. This isn't a scam. It's not a gimmick. It is actually math. I have to tap your behaviors, improve those behaviors, fix your bad habits, create new ones to make you a millionaire.
Welcome back. It's the Bill Wooditch Show with very special guest, Grant Cardone. Grant, Welcome back to the show.
Billy, I missed you, man. Where'd you go?
I was just thinking, man, I'm building a kinship with you, buddy. I just want to hang out with you and lift weights and drink bulletproof coffee, and let's see how far we can go on our adrenaline and good looks.
Dude, I love it, man. I love it. Let's roll. I like the idea.
Grant, after school, and I thought I was too good to be in sales, and I think you said the same thing. I went to school to be a manager. I wasn't going to be in sales. That was something dirty. It was something that people wanted to take my money and give me nothing back in return, and then people looked down with a jaundiced eye. It's like, sales, man, couldn't you do anything real? What's your take on what you thought about in sales before you entered into the arena?
Well, and this goes back to your earlier question about college. Borrowing money for 4 or 5 years to go to college, and they don't teach you how to sell anything. Like nobody's going any place on this planet without learning how to sell. It's just not going to happen. I don't care if you're Lady Gaga and a musician, or you're Howard Schultz at Starbucks, or the dude that came up with that BS bulletproof diet. Okay, whatever it is, man, you're going to have to sell it. You're Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs. The only people that actually move up in life are the people that can actually move, sell, not just come up with good ideas, but move their product into the marketplace. If you ever watch Shark Tank, sooner or later, Mark Cuban or Mr. Wonderful or my friend Damon John is going to ask a question. In every show, every presentation, that question is going to be the same. What were your sales last year?
Right.
So the value of you, your product, your idea, your company is based on one thing: the ability to sell products in the marketplace.
And we think sales is confined to the world of business, but you had to sell to get that first date with your wife, and you were not only persistent, you were a great salesperson, right? I mean, you sell every day in life. Where you want to take your wife out, what you're going to have for dinner, you're negotiating for a raise, how you dress, what you do. Yeah. Everybody sells, man.
Everybody sells, or they don't. That's they either do or they don't. And then the people that say, I hate sales, I'm not a salesman, I'm not a sales type, you ought to go get a T-shirt that just says, I quit. I'm done.
I wonder if I could wear it. I should wear that. That would probably look pretty interesting. People would not believe it. Grant,
but nobody wants to do that, Bill, but nobody wants to be broke either. Everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die.
Wish and hope don't cash the results. Banks don't cash our intents. They cash our results. Grant, 10X Growth Con. If I go there, I should say after this talk, I have to go there. Do I have to push through hordes of security to get up close to you, or what?
No, man. I'll come find you, Bill. Come on, buddy. We're going to be spooning on the brakes.
Tell me about
10X.
Tell me about
10X man spoon.
10 times more than anybody else, baby.
Let me tell you who's going to be at this conference. This is a 3-day event. Every speaker there has a company that's producing money. Almost $10 billion in sales last year from the 20 speakers. There's going to be 20 speakers, 40 sessions, Q&A after every speaker. Damon John from Shark Tank will be there. Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank and an infomercial king. Les Brown. Tim Story. Tim Grover from Relentless, who worked with Michael Jordan. Hank Norman. My wife's going to be there talking about empire building. Tom Cummings did $254 million in sales last year. Bobby Castro, he's a $600 million business. Jay Abraham, who's helped people build multi-million, $100 million empires. I mean, the list goes on and on. Frank Kern, who does website and funnel marketing. Jamie Shanks, who does social selling. Gloria Mayfield Banks, who does network marketing. I go on and on. And by the way, I'm going to be there for 3 days to help people figure out what they have to do to 10X 2017. You won't walk on
Growth
fire.
Con.
You're not required to walk on fire. You don't have to dance while you're there. You don't have to get up and get all excited. But what you do need to do is come with an open mind to figure out how to blow up your business.
So I know one person that won't be there. Let me ask, and that's going to be somebody that teaches people to walk on coals. When and where 10X Growth Con?
If you go to 10xgrowthcon.com, 10xgrowthcon.com, you can get all the information.
Let me say this. I have sales reps in my company who said, you're going to be on with Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone's going to be on your show. I want to be on the show. I want to shake his hand. I want to listen to him. So the pressure on me today is not for the listening audience across the United States and Canada, but it's for the people in my own office who are thinking that Grant Cardone is the guy that wrote the book. And, by the way, Bill Wooditch read the book, and now he teaches us to do what Grant taught him to do. So you have that going for you. So
well, your sales guys should have a pretty easy job selling advertising on your show, buddy.
Thank you. How do you learn from failure, Grant? How do you learn?
Well, first of all, let me just say that I learn more from success than I learn from failure. I don't like failing, man. I don't like failing. There's nothing about the failing thing that I like, but it does tell me where I missed, right? So if you're shooting a gun, if you're target practicing, you know, you start making adjustments if you're too far left or low left or whatever the situation, right? So the failures help if you're making adjustments. Now, for me, a guy told me years ago, he's like, look, man, just remember this. Failure can't happen if you don't quit, bro. If you keep shooting, you will hit the bullseye sooner or later. And I was like, what'd you just say? And I don't know why I'd heard that before, Bill, but this really hit me. Like, if I don't quit, I can't fail. So today, like, I'm going to build a multi-billion-dollar real estate company, okay? I don't know how to do it, but I know this. If I don't quit, I can't fail. I'll get there sooner or later.
You know, I think that, and I'm the same way. I always look for a way. People say, what did you learn from failure? And I just never defined it as failure. I just looked at something as I had to adjust and keep going and just keep moving. It was part of the bargain for success. I didn't really define it as failure. I don't know. It's kind of strange.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. I just missed. I didn't fail. You know, my wife wouldn't go out with me for 13 months, you know, and I just kept calling her. Okay, the first call didn't work. Second one didn't work. The 24th one didn't work. The 26th one, she had a baby with me.
Hey, man, you're a stalker at that point.
It's not stalking if it works, dude.
Write that down.
If it
it's
works,
not stalking if it works.
if it works, it's not stalking. And most people quit because they're worried about the label. Like your sales guys, I don't want to appear needy. I don't want to appear pushy. I don't want to like beg for business. Well, you know what? That's why you don't have any business, man, because you're not willing to do whatever it takes.
You're right. And people smell three things on you: fear, desperation, and greed. And growing that pipeline puts you in a place where you don't have to give up your self-respect thinking that you have to make every freaking sale. If fear, desperation, and greed are things that people do not want to partner with. Now, I will console weakness, Grant, but I ain't going to partner with it. I don't know what your
I agree with that. So fear, desperation, and greed. But let me just say this. If you don't quit, even if I'm labeled fearful, desperate, greedy, the guy that doesn't quit will then be called crazy, and you're close to getting some business now.
Yes. Well, you start making money, they call you eccentric.
Yeah. Man, that dude's eccentric, man. That dude's weird. He's crazy. Yeah, but he's rich, son.
I got a shirt for you. It's I don't know if you've seen it. It's attributed to Winston Churchill. There's a frog coming out of the mouth of a duck, and it's got its hands around the duck's as it's in its stomach, around its throat, and it says "Never ever quit."
That's
buy
right.
that shirt for you. What are you wearing now? Like just a regular X, or are you working out? Because that's my next question. Is physically. How do you take care of yourself physically?
I'm a medium. Dude. I take pretty good care of myself. I try to work out 3 or 4 times a week. I really should work out more than that. I try to get a swim in every day. So. Yeah. You know, I take care of myself. I stay busy, man. I think people need to worry about keeping their mind busier than their body, though. Like if I need to stay busy, and I need to take care of my body too. So I totally agree with that. And back to that quit thing, you know. Look at Brady the other day, man. They're like, dude, you need 2 touchdowns, you need two 2-point extra points, and what else did he need? And you got to win the coin toss. Just to get into overtime, you got to do all that. And he's like, yeah. Don't be a little bitch, man. Sit back and watch what I do, son.
Now, you know this is killing me. It's tearing my guts out because I'm a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But I'm going to let you run with that because you should be a Saints fan for growing up in Lake Charles, Louisiana. But you're just a fan of.
I'm a winner's fan. I'm a champions fan, okay?
Well, mental toughness is the key and Brady exemplifies. He embodies mental toughness. I mean, he was like what sixth round pick out of Michigan. No one paid any attention to him. The underdog that drove it forward. I think you and I relate to that.
Unbelievable. And you notice it's an interesting thing for people that own businesses, and we'll be talking about this at the 10X Growth Con. Is their team is a little different than every other team in football because it is built around 3 people: the owner, the coach, and the quarterback.
Yep.
And everybody else is dispensable. Okay, well, you don't operate under the program. You're not Bill's under Bill's program. He's like, you're out of here, man, and he'll blow talent out in a second.
Grant, I think there are 4 pillars that you build your life around: physical, spiritual, emotional, and the intellectual. How do you find time to feed the intellectual to read? Because that's one of the keys you talk about with Warren Buffett and other people who you've got to make that time to feed your mind. How do you find that time? How do you make that time?
By having new targets. You know, if you're the people that don't have the time to read, to learn, are the people that don't have new goals. If you have goals, if I want if I want a multi-billion-dollar real estate business, then I have to study people. The only way I can do that is at some point is to go public, right? So if I want to go public and play the game, I got to start reading what I don't know. If I want to be one of the biggest top 5 people on social media, and I'm 58 years old, then I got to figure out the social media game. So the reason people don't read, the reason people don't go to conferences, is because they don't take the time to have a new, big, giant goal that would inspire them to want to be around different people.
You might have haters, but I love you, man. It's great. Thank you, Grant. Awesome.
I'm Julie Gordon-White, best-selling author and founder of The Well for Women Entrepreneurs. Here's the moment you've been waiting for. I want to help you take your passion project, which may even be a hobby, and make it premium. You have to stop living paycheck to paycheck. You have to stop worrying about your family. You have to be able to generate your own money.
Our guest was Grant Cardone, author of many books, including the latest, Be Obsessed or Be Average. You know, you've got to make today's hurdle to greatness tomorrow's bar of expectation. You've got to make today's hurdle to greatness tomorrow's bar of expectation. Well, I'm fired up. I didn't even have my bulletproof coffee. This is Kelsey McDaniel. She's on the 4th segment of the show to carry me home because I'm mentally exhausted from speaking with Grant. Can you believe that? He's actually fired me up, man.
No, that was great. And I love what he said about learning more from successes rather than failure. Yeah. I mean, that's the always forward mindset right there.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's part of that whole thing about definition and being able to define terms, and the terms then create the context, and context understanding, and then action from there. You don't define yourself as a loser. You don't put the label on as a failure. You're able to just keep trying and trying until you do it, and you're never truly defeated until you quit. You know, Churchill, go back to one of my famous people, my favorite people in history, said that failure is, success is often not final, and failure isn't fatal. You know, you have to keep trying and pushing to get what you want. You heard him talk about his wife and how many times he stalked her, but he says it's not stalking if you actually get the end.
It's not stalking if it works. I
like
that.
The way his mind works with that one. That was a beauty. But Grant and I hit on something we both believe to our core, and Daniel Pink is a psychologist who wrote about it, but everybody sells. You know, everybody is selling every day. Now, you might not want to think about that. You might not want to call it selling, but you are enrolling hearts and minds. Think about what you do every day when you position yourself to win. You take care and you take great concern and pride in your product. You make sure it's very professional. You're at the point where you're maximizing your value every day by what you learn and how you grow from there. I mean, you're
that goes back
it.
to being the CEO of your life. You're not going to do that if you don't have accountability.
But you take ownership, which is the key. And this
Are you
is
talking about me personally?
I'm talking about you personally right now.
Oh,
you take ownership, which is the key. You take responsibility. You understand that there's a no excuse zone that flies right around my office, right?
Yeah.
And those people that come in with that excuse zone, they just get shot down.
Oh yeah, no, that happened to us like last week, right? You called me up and you said, "Have you done this yet?" And I started to say, "No, but," and you're like, "Nope, stop right there. Just get off the phone and do it."
And she has learned. No excuses in life. You either do or you do not do, but people generally don't want to hear your excuses. It's kind of a lazy person's crutch. You know, I always say, are you an excuse looking for a condition, or a condition looking for an excuse? And I think that's important. You know, we hit on with Grant some things about sleep, which I'm happy to learn he does sleep. 12 hours last night makes me jealous because he got 6 more than me, and I'm usually the 8-hour guy, but I was all fired up for the show, I guess. And I like that you have to take time for yourself physically. That's part of being the CEO of your life, and really working on yourself and giving yourself some time to build your body, taking in the proper nutrition for your body, and feeding yourself what Steve Gilliland talked about with a really good mental protein instead of a candy, you know, that just could create that corrosive, that kind of cavity type saccharine thing in your mind where all you do is take in garbage. You know, you've got to take in good information, and that's why it's so important. People like Warren Buffett, people like Grant Cardone, and I read a lot. We're going to grab reading where we can find it, enjoy what we can, and take what we can and what we want from the books that are of some sort of use to us. And when they're not, get rid of the guilt. Put it down, toss it out, and get rid of it. You don't need to read an entire book. You need to pick out what you want to pick out. If you enjoy the entire book, go for it. But if you don't feel compelled to read it because people think or say that you have to. We talked about being crazy, and I think most people are labeled as crazy before they have money. Then they're just known as being eccentric. And one of those people is Elon Musk. He's tipping the scales of eccentricity because as we speak, he is digging, and maybe not personally, but he has people digging a tunnel under LA. Guess why he's building a tunnel?
Well, under LA, I can only think of one thing.
What is it?
The traffic.
That's right.
Yeah.
He said for the last 2 months he's been frustrated by traffic, so he decided to do something about it. And he is tunneling underneath. He's got about 50 feet dug.
Is this safe?
Well, when did safe have anything to do with, I shouldn't say this, this is going to come out. This is not going to be good. Didn't Elon Musk launch a rocket that didn't quite take off and just boom, but he didn't have insurance on the rocket and just boom. This is a guy that's building a tunnel under LA. This should be interesting. I don't know why he's even allowed to build it because the rumor was that Bill Gates tried to build a tunnel under or through Seattle at some point, I think, underneath Seattle. Yeah, he wanted to drive his Ferraris faster. And they
Who does that sound like? Bill Wooditch on the Bill Wooditch
yeah,
show.
I don't know if I'd do it underground. I don't know,
Gotham.
man. There are limits to my eccentricity, and I think we just reached it. So I don't know if I'd quite do that. But I think you've got to push the envelope on things, and you have to be responsible with what you do. You have to think things through to the degree you can. At a certain point, waiting for that perfect moment, as we talked about before, it doesn't happen. Other people are going to take that opportunity, make it theirs, and do something in their life that makes a difference for them. It's that difference that you can make in yours if you seize, and create opportunity. And I think that's the key, is to be in position, to be ready, to be able to see things that sometimes other people don't, and to take those risks and make things happen. There's an invisible wall, I think, Kels, that really is fear, and it's an invisible barrier to success. It's a self-imposed ceiling. And remember, Tim Story was on our show a few weeks ago, and he talked about ceilings. And he said, in my family, there was literally low ceilings. And that was the ceiling of expectation that the family have as a metaphor for us to go forward. It was just survive, or, don't do too much, or just try to get out of here. Very, very, just get a job. Very low ceilings. And I think people like Grant Cardone, who grow up and feel the emotional pain of impoverishment and feel the helplessness associated with it, where you're trying to do things for your loved ones, but you don't have at 10 years old, 11 years old, other than bike routes that I had, but paper routes, on a bike, did that, shoveled snow out so people could get to their lawn, and then baled hay, built barns. Now I'm going back into a painful time. Other than that, and getting a quarter for each effort, that's all we could do. But when you get yourself into a position, and it's a rewarding position where you can do things for those people you love, you're able to financially do for them, and you can address that emotional need because you can provide for their welfare, those loved ones. That's one of the greatest feelings of purpose you can have. And I think that's the importance of really growing and sharing, collaborating, and doing things for others. That gives us that inner drive and purpose. And a lot of people don't have that because they've grown up with that silver, not plastic spoon in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I always had a plastic one. And they grew up with a silver spoon, and they grew up with entitlement. So I think you can break down life into two categories. Those who feel, regardless of financial background, entitled, and those who feel gratitude. So you come from one or two places in my book. Entitlement, I expect it, or gratitude. I'm going to work for it. I'm going to appreciate it. And I think there's your two camps of thought. If the listener can come up with a third, they can write that down and get back on the show at some point when we're taking callers, and they can tell me about it. What do you think of that, Kels?
I think that's great.
You come from that.
It comes back to what Grant was saying about how he defines success. It's not the material things that necessarily matter to him. It's fulfilling that potential that he has.
And you know what scares the heck out of people? What scares the heck out of people are those people who look at work as play. Look at work as play and find that purpose in the play, in the game. Make it a game. And the people that are always working beyond, just always working beyond their current limits because they're just striving for that potential that they feel is always going to be perhaps just a little bit outside their grasp because they keep raising the bar of their own expectation. You see, they're not measuring this based on what society would dictate as success. They're defining success on their own terms. It makes them very dangerous to the people that are apathetic in life, that don't care, and the people that quit at a certain point. You've got to extend your line. You've got to extend that line of development further every day by learning something new, finding that inner fortitude to apply it. And if you miss, you can adjust. You can step back, you can assess, you can think, and then you can attack it from another place in another way. But so many people are in a place where that they label themselves as a failure if they have one setback, or they label failure as something that's final because it hurts, it stings, it's always going to be emotional. But the more you're exposed to setbacks, the more you're exposed to moving forward and going through setbacks, the more used you are, the more inured you become, the more hardened you become to the pain. And then you're just working for gain. And that's what we do every day on this show as we prepare and we plan for the next one. The details, the preparation work, that's Kelsey. The getting up in front of the camera and rolling with what she's prepared, that's me. And the combination is working for us. I think, at least we haven't been pulled yet, but then we haven't used too many expletives on the air. I want to thank Grant Cardone, our very special guest. Fantastic. And again, as I said, he may have some haters out there, but if half the country hates him and the other half loves him, one day you never know. He's going to become king of that universe, and he's king of his own space, I can tell you that. Mm-hmm. Grant was great. The show I thought had some depth to it. We talked about sales, success, life, failure. And, of course, I mentioned my very dear friend Steve Gilliland and what he brings to the table. He's been under the radar for so long, and you'd think as a Hall of Fame speaker that would not be the case. This guy is a difference maker. His book is making a difference.
We're going to bring him on the show.
He's made a difference for me in my life. We got to bring him on the show. We do. Think he'd come on?
Oh, yeah.
You've listened to the Bill Wooditch Show. Until next week, be safe. And remember, strive, strive, strive for more.
There is no secret. It's all in the work. You got to roll up your sleeves and you got to do the work.
You can't do good business sitting on your backside.